Hi there. I've created this video about creating a basic CRM using model-driven apps because when I was trying to do exactly that, I found it quite hard. I couldn't find a video that just took me step by step through the basics that I needed to know to start with. There are a lot of in-depth videos going on for 2 or 3 hours, but really I didn't need all of that for what I was trying to achieve to start with. So I thought creating a video to help others would hopefully be useful. So yeah, it's a very basic CRM to start with, but then I will add more and more tables as time goes on. And I think that's a good way to develop knowledge rather than doing too much too soon. So here we can see on the left side, we've got the left navigation pane, and contacts table is the table that I have created. This is the view that we see at the front here. And then from the view, we can click into records. So we can see contact details down the left-hand side, down to the bottom. We've got tabs across the top. These are default ones that Microsoft have added to start with. And then in the centre, we've got the timeline, which is where all the activity goes on. So things like emails, phone calls, notes are all recorded in the timeline. So I will talk you through setting up this very basic CRM to start with. To start using PowerApps, you need to be able to log into this page here, which is make.powerapps.com. If you've already got a Microsoft login, whether it's through school or through work, you'll be able to log into this with no problem. Otherwise, you will need to create a PowerApps development plan, which is easy enough. You just go onto PowerApps developer plan and start for free here. It's a few simple steps to get a login. Before we can start creating our model-driven app, we need to create an environment. And to do this, we go to admin.powerplatform.microsoft.com/home. Go to the Manage section and New Environment. Choose a name for your environment. I'll call this CRM. We need it to be Developer. Next. And save. So then what we need to do is go to make.powerapps.com. Before we make a start, we need to check that the system is in the right environment. The environment is selected here at the top right. If it doesn't say the environment that you expect, press on it and select the correct environment. Okay, so we've gone to the environment. What we then need to do is create a solution. Everything has to be within a solution. So we go to solution, then type new solution, call it CRM, select a publisher. You can set it as your default preferred solution and create. There's a lot that goes on in the background with model-driven apps, so it may take a little while to set up. Okay. What we then need to do when we're creating a CRM, main table that we'll be using is the contact table. And the way that Microsoft have created model-driven apps is that there is a lot of out-of-the-box tables. So we'll add the contact table and then it'll make more sense. So it exists. It already exists in what we've already set up. So we go to add existing, we go to table, and here you can see a huge list of different tables that Microsoft have created. This is the beauty of model-driven apps. There is so much already done for you. Okay, so it's the contact table that we need for a CRM. So we go down to there, press next. Okay, and then we want to include all objects and table metadata. Now this will take a little while to set up. Okay, so it's showing us the table there. Right, okay. So for each table that is set up, you can see here we've got a breadcrumb trail. So CRM, then we're in the tables section, and this is the contact table. And it all looks a bit confusing to start with, but the more you work with it, the more it becomes understandable. Okay, so when we were looking at the CRM system I showed you earlier, we have a form that we fill in, which shows the details. We then have a view, which is more of a column-based view. We then can create charts and we can create dashboards. But most of the work goes on in the forms area, initially anyway. So within forms, we have columns, and you can think of columns as being similar to fields on an Excel spreadsheet. We also have relationships, and relationships is where one table relates to another because it's a relational database, but we're making this a very straightforward one table CRM system, at least to start with. Okay, so the things that we'll be looking at are the forms area, the columns, and the views, at least initially. Okay, what you can see at the bottom here, this is the Dataverse table, and there's nothing in it at the moment because it's a brand new environment that we've created. If we'd have had this as an environment that we've used previously for another CRM system or another app, we would be seeing the data here. That's the way it works. So if you want to start completely with clean data from new, it's preferable, I think, to start a brand new environment. Okay, so you can see here it's given us the account, role, address ID, more address ID, there's so many addresses, and 215 more columns that we could be looking at. So you can see, like I say, it's very much out of the box. There is a huge amount of columns that Microsoft create for each table, so that we're just in the contact table at the moment. And there's a huge amount that we won't use. We won't use most of these. Okay, but they're there. And it's better to check to see what is there and what can be used before creating your own. And you can create your own. Those are called custom columns. But it really does make sense to try not to duplicate because you just end up with a muddling naming system. So what we'll do first is we'll look in the forms area because that's where a lot of the building goes on. Right, what we're going to need is the main form. So you can pretty much ignore all the others. Let's go for the main form. Click contact. Okay, so it might take a moment to load. There we go. Okay, so I'll hide what we're seeing here on the left and right at the moment, so we can have a little look around the form. So in the centre we've got the timeline, and the timeline is where all activity goes on. So things like any messages, any emails, any text, any phone calls, any notes, they all get logged on the timeline in the centre. Down the left hand side we've got name details, job title, account name, email address, phone number, mobile phone, fax. You know, who uses fax these days? Preferred method of contact, and then address. So Microsoft have put in what they think we're going to want to use, but we can take those out and we can add our own fields in if we want to. Okay, we've then also got a details tab. These are tabs across the top. You can't really see them as tabs, but there's a summary tab, which is always the first one. Details tab next. So details, more information taken from that big long list of columns that we saw before. Again, what Microsoft think we're going to want to use. Again, a lot of these I think we can probably get rid of. But they can be hidden. You don't have to get rid of them. You can hide them. And then related. So that shows different tables that could be linked to this. But like I say, we're creating a very basic CRM, so we won't be using the related. If there was a field we didn't want, there was fax number down here. we could click on that. Just be sure you've got the right one selected. You can see here it says fax, and then we can delete it. Simple as that. It's not deleting it from the whole system. All it is doing is deleting it from this form. And this form is what, this is what we're going to be filling in. So we only really want things that are applicable. Preferred method of contact. Well, that makes sense, doesn't it? Now, this one, you can see it says there, any. So it's as though it's already got something defined. So let's have a little look at that column. Edit table column. Right, look, you can see this says it's a choice field. Now, a choice field means it's a drop down. So here you can see it's put any because the default choice here says any, okay? So here we can define what we want the choices on this drop down to be, okay? And if we want to, we can add a new choice. It's as easy as that. But I won't add a new choice. Like I say, I'm just trying to keep this simple. Okay, so we can go down. We'll keep all of those. If at some point we decide that we don't want some of these fields, columns, then we can just come in and change them at a later date. So yeah, they've got a map on here. Let's just get rid of that map. We don't need a map on here. Okay, so like I say, that literally deletes it from the form, but not from the table. Okay, so what can we see on here as well as the columns that we've just been looking at? We can see we've got outlines. These are called sections. You can see that. So did you see there that line changes? So it can be a little tricky to make sure you're in the right place, but sections just help to divide the page up a little bit. And we can have components that go within the sections. If we have a little look here, right, this shows us the components. Yeah, this is a menu I don't use so often, to be honest, but that's the components menu here. So we can add sections. So these are the sections here. And tabs are these going along the top. So we can add sections and we can add tabs. So 1 column tab, 2 column tab, or 1 column section, 2 column section. Straightforward enough. There's also things like quick views, subgrids, timeline. Well, timeline we've already talked about, and spaces, but we'll go into those maybe on a later video. For the purpose of this demonstration, we'll stick with what we've got. But this is where, if you wanted a new tab, it's very simple and straightforward. You just go 1 column tab, and it would set you up the tab there. Look, new tab, okay? And it's automatically put a 1 column section in. If I wanted a 2 column section, press to say 2 column section. It looks like it's 1 column, but there's a divide in the center. Easy as that. So let's just delete those for now. Okay, so that's under this little icon here. This one here is our long list of columns that Microsoft have already set up, which I showed you on the previous view. So you can see there's loads there. But if we wanted something if there was something we wanted that wasn't on here already, we could create a custom column. So let's think, child's name maybe. Let's put in new table column, child name, and then we have a column where we can choose what type of data needs to go in there. So it can be text, it can be a number, it can be a date, it can be a lookup. A lookup is where we'd be looking to another table within the system. So we're not going down that route. A choice column is like we were looking at before, where it's a multiple choice drop-down box. Currency, auto number, file or formula. But yeah, for the purpose of this, we're just going to put in text. So it'll just be a straightforward text field. Press save. Okay, now we can add that to our form. And the best way to do that is, let's move that out of the way. if we want to add something onto the form, we are best to put our cursor, if we perhaps put it under here for anniversary, put our cursor as near as we can to where we want it to be. It's not always exactly accurate, but we will try that. And then we can type in here, child. You see it says, oh, there's already one there called children's name. So I should have used that, but I wanted to demonstrate creating a custom column. Another way we can find it is, you see this little funnel here? This is a filter. We can say, show us everything, show us the standard ones, or show us the custom ones. So you could see there, child name appears. The custom ones still have quite a lot, but not as many. But any that we create ourselves will always be under custom. You can also say, you know, it's automatically ticked to say show only the unused table columns, because that then also helps to reduce the number that you see. If I press that, then even more would appear. But it won't be showing the ones that are already in the form. So child name, let's go here, press child name, and it will hopefully appear. There you go, it appears there. Okay. If we wanted to create a choice column, which is quite a popular one, texts and or, I'm just wording this slightly different to one that they've already got on here. Choice column. Then, if you'd already got a choice column set up with the options on that you want, it would appear in here, so you could select it. But if you haven't got it set up, as we haven't, you say new choice. So you call it right. I'm going to call it text and or email. So text and email is my first choice. Text only, email only, neither, not asked yet. Okay, so I know I'm duplicating something that's very similar to what they've already got on here, but it's to demonstrate how to do it. So that's how we would set up our choices. We press save, and then we have to then tell it to use that choice. So we go on to here, text and or email, and then we can say what would we like our default to be. Don't have to have a default, but I think it's good to, and I go for not asked yet in that scenario. There are advanced options with every column that we set up. There's advanced options, but we don't need to look at those right now. Press save. Okay, so again, if we want to define those, it's under custom, and it's here, text and or email. So I'm just going to pop it under here. You can just press it, or you can drag it. You see, like that. You see, if you see the little triangle, it should place it there. Yep. Okay, great. Then it's sensible to save and publish. Data type takes a little while. If there's something that we think, right, okay, I'm not sure whether we want it or not, what we can do, instead of deleting it, you can hide it. So say these shipping details here, if we don't want to see them, you can select that. You can choose either to hide a label or hide the whole thing. So if we hide the whole thing, it disappears like that. If you want to see what is hidden, like this pop-up's telling us here, there's a little slider here. You can put that on there, and then it will show us anything that's hidden. And you can see that it's hidden because of this little eye icon with a line through it. Okay, so yeah, that can be a good way of just moving things out of the way a little bit until you're sure whether you want it or not. Also on this one here, the details on here change depending on what you've got selected. So if I'm selecting this top area here, I'm on the contact at the moment, so it says show header flyout. This is the header here. Let's go on to here. Now I'm down on this. No, I'm not. If I'm on there, I'm on that whole section. But then if I click on there, I'm just on that column. Okay, so it is a case of just being sure you're clicking on the right thing. If you go further down, it can be fiddly, as you can see. There, I'm trying to select the whole thing, and there you can see it says it's formatted to 3 columns, which is where we can see that column, and that column. And then we can actually define the widths of the columns as well. But it can be quite tricky. Sometimes we find that this right-hand column can end up underneath here. It's best to not fiddle with these too much, I think, because they can be fiddly to put right. Okay, so let's save and publish again. And what we're going to do then is go and look at the views. So we've got 2 columns here that we've added on, child name and text and our email. Okay, so now that that's saved and published, we can go back. I want to go to contact, and then I want to go to the view. Okay, so very similar to in the forms section, it sets up absolutely loads, and you don't necessarily need all these. It can be quite scary when you look at all that. So I think things like all contacts are a good one. Okay, so it says there's nothing to show there because we haven't got any data in there at the moment, but it has created some column headings that it thinks that we might want. So full name's obviously a good one, email address, company name, business phone. If we wanted to add some of the columns that we've just created, again, we can use this custom area to find the ones that we want. So we can add in child name. It'll automatically put it to the right hand side. We can just drag and drop them around wherever we want. And then if we go down here, we should find the text and or email option. Here we go. Okay, so save and publish that. It'll all make a little bit more sense, I think, when there's some data in there. Okay. Now, it isn't showing that one as the default, so we're going to change it to be the default. Okay, so see these 3 little dots here? We can just press on that and say set as default view. Okay, and then you can see that it's still got other default views as well, but I think these are all in just different areas. You have views that appear in different areas depending on, whether it's a form or a subgrid within a form. Yeah, but like I say, for a basic CRM system, having all contacts as the main view will be fine. Okay, so what we're going to do then next is, let's just go back to here, see if there's anything we need to add. No, I don't think there is at the moment. We'll just go straight from there to apps. Okay, so we've created our form and we've got some views. What we need to do now is create the actual app. So to do that, we go to this section where it says apps and new app, and we want model driven app. Okay, call it CRM and create. Okay, so we've got a blank page. And what we need to do now is to start adding our page to it. So we've only got the one page, haven't we? So add, and it's a table that we've got, and we choose. Choose contact. And there you can see it starts to populate. It's automatically added the word contacts to the left navigation pane. What it has done, I think, is put, yes, it has put our correct view in there. Can you see? Because there's the child name and the text and or emails. Okay, so what we can do now is save and publish, and then we press the play button. Whenever we want to use our app, we press the play. Okay, so this is our main view. You can see it's got the columns that we knew about, plus the 2 that we've added. There's more views available here. What we need to do now is to add a contact. Now you can see here it's got a magnifying glass and a link to account name. Now if we'd have also added the account table in our app, then we could add company names in that and link this contact to the company that they work for. But as we're starting with a very basic app, I haven't done that. Our app is literally just one table to start with anyway. Okay, so let's just put a little bit more data in so that we see it appear on the view. Now there is a preferred method of contact drop down there, which is already out of the box, but we have created our own for demonstration purposes. So text and or email, you can see there it's defaulted to not asked yet, and I will put that as email only. Child's name, we'll put that in. Okay, now what you can see here at the top at the moment is it says new contact. When we save it, that will change to say the contact's name. So it's picked up the first name and the last name, combine them, okay? And what else has happened is this has become visible in the center, the timeline. Now, not everything is activated in the timeline straight away, but we can put in things like a note. As a little diary entry there, okay? And then if we were to go back to the view, we can see there the detail that we've added, okay? At any point we can go into the view and add extra columns if we wanted to. So if we wanted to know anything that is in the form, add it in there. Okay, simple as that. So I think we'll leave it there for today, and the next session will be adding extra activities potentially, and potentially adding extra data in. Thanks for listening.